Hello. Hi, everyone. I just wanted to introduce the MC for the next two sessions, Mr. Fawzi Rahal. Fawzi is the founder and editor of the Next Web Middle East, and he's also the head of regional communications for G2. So he's quite a dynamic guy. I'm sure he'll make sure you stay awake.
I'm going to try and make this go as fast as we can, hopefully with some content that is relevant to you. We're going to start with a stat talk by Mr. Tarek Sadi, who's the managing director actually of Endeavor Lebanon. Tar will be taking us through a quick stat talk about investment and entrepreneurship tools for about 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll start with the panel which I'll be moderating, which is about venture capitalism. I hope it'll be interesting for you as well. May I introduce Tarek, please?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Fawzi. I'm being blinded by the power of entrepreneurship. Is there any way of dimming the lights a bit?
Just pretend there's nobody here.
Yeah, all right. that works. All right. 2010 has been a whirlwind year for entrepreneurship in the region. A year ago at ArabNet, and the question on everyone's lips was, how do we foster an environment, how do we create the right environment for entrepreneurship to flourish? 12 months later, the evidence on the ground is astounding. It's early days, but there's been an incredible amount of momentum that has generated. Fantastic incubators and accelerators such as Oasis 500, Sequence and Maidan in the region popped up, and have already each have incubated over 10 companies and working with more companies, building up their pipelines and pushing that pipeline towards the investment community. Existing stakeholders such as Badr and Peritak, for example, in Lebanon, and the Queen Rania Center in Jordan, have been very active in being thought leaders in the region and galvanizing the communities to work together. Over 10 new investors popped up in the region, institutional money, different structures, catering to different type of entrepreneurs and different types of businesses. And the value chain was supported by that stronger investor base, started collaborating much more. There is much more fluidity in communication. There is much more outreach upstream and downstream to create collaborative efforts. And really, over the past 12 months, the proof is ultimately in the pudding. I remember last year at ArabNet, there was a stat floating around that in 2009, there were about 9 or 10 early stage investments in the MENA region, in the Middle East. Just from, over the past 12 months, just from the conversations that I've had through my network, and by no means am I the yellow pages of the investor world, I know that there's at least 50, there is 50 companies invested in by early stage investors in MENA. And that's a massive multiple growth. That's something that the whole community should be very proud about. The question that comes to mind is, how sustainable is that increase ultimately? Is it a blip, or is there a sustainable growth in the activity that we're seeing in the region? And ideally, I would have liked to be able to support this with quantitative data, but unfortunately, the early stage investment and the private investment environment sector in the region is still full of smokes and mirrors. So reliable data is not really there. So what I'd like to share with you are observations that I've seen on the ground and questions that I have looking forward. So on an overarching basis, there is globally a trend of money capital flowing towards emerging markets. EMPA, which is the Emerging Market Private Equity Association, estimates that in 2010, venture capital and private equity in emerging markets has grown by 30%. 27% through a 27% growth in transaction volumes and a 10% growth in ticket size, which is quite substantial as a global average. But on a more granular level in our region, some of the observations that I've seen that points towards sustainability and maturity of the sector going forward that have come up come from the variety of new types of investors that we have that have come to the forefront of the investment community over the past 12 months. On one hand, there's an emergence of venture capital type funds that come from industry heritage, people such as MBC Ventures and Sawari Ventures that bring a considerable amount of knowledge with them and experience that's sector specific, synergies, contacts within the regions and beyond for entrepreneurs in those sectors. And that's an important sector to keep, subsector of the investment community to keep our eye on. Because in emerging markets, such companies that come from technology or media backgrounds have been very big investors in entrepreneurs, in early stage companies. Not necessarily as a business development growth strategy, but as an actual investment strategy. Naspers, which is the largest media group out of Africa, is a big shareholder in some of the largest internet groups in Brazil, in Russia, and in India. Tencent in Shanghai is a very active investor in online and digital media companies and startups. DSC out of Russia, who was known for, well, they're renowned for having invested into Facebook at an $8 billion valuation, which today sounds like a gamble, as a bargain, have been at the forefront of growing and fostering digital entrepreneurship in their regions and in emerging markets. There's also an increase in the number of super angels in the region that are investing their own money, their own capital, having a more hands-on approach, more standing shoulder to shoulder with the entrepreneurs, helping grow their companies. They typically have been investing in companies at a very early stage and taking them to a growth stage with their insight, contacts, and capital that they've invested. There's also a very apparent outreach from existing VCs upstream and downstream to help develop the entrepreneurial sector by working with stakeholders further upstream and galvanizing entrepreneurship. Accelerated Holdings investment in Oasis 500. MEVP is very active at supporting Badr and other NGOs that support the entrepreneurship in Lebanon. And there's also a new capital base and perspective on value creation coming into the region with an increase in number of investors from outside our region investing in early stage companies. Over the past couple of months, I've heard of 3-4 VCs based in the US and in Europe investing in early stage companies in the region, which is fantastic. The question is, at least for me today, is whether in 2009 was the year that we identified our needs, and 2010 is really when we started doing something about it. Will 2011, 2012 be the year where we see increased confidence in our investments in early stage companies, an increase in ticket size, as a lot of the investments that we see are have been under $1 million investments? And will that lead us in 2014, 15, 16 into when we start seeing the first exits from the region? As Endeavor, through the experience of Endeavor in emerging markets, there are two clear factors that play in creating that value for companies to lead them to successful growth and exit potential. One is the right type of entrepreneurs, and I think we can all agree that we have ample amount of great entrepreneurs from the turnout today and the people we've been meeting at ArabNet and other events in the region. And the other part is having a deep and tailored support, really that smart money component that makes a difference to the entrepreneur. Cash is abundant. There is a lot of capital and liquidity in the region, but the right type of capital is what's missing. That investor that will use their leverage with other people, networks, contacts, to develop mentorship, develop trust within the value chain of the companies that they invest in, creating role model, and helping them through insights and contacts. And that's what makes the difference, and that's what makes successful businesses backed by great investors. For those of you that haven't come across Endeavor before, Endeavor is we're a non-profit organization. We've been around for 14 years. We're in 11 countries. In the Middle East, we're in Jordan, Egypt, Turkey, and Lebanon. And we look at supporting early stage, supporting high-impact entrepreneurs, entrepreneurs that have the potential of having a big impact on job creation and economic growth in their country. We don't invest capital. We're VC without the capital, if you'd like. Before I leave the stage for the panel, I mean, my closing remark and the questions going forward for me is, how do we reach a point? Today there's a lot of money around, and there's a lot of capital, and there is some smart capital from the amount of VCs that have come to the forefront, amount of experienced investors that have returned to the region. At what point will that be the differentiator for the entrepreneurs for type of capital that they get? And really the answer for that lies in the question of how do we go about creating exitable companies, as well as looking for the exits in the region. And that's something that as Endeavor we're here to help investors and entrepreneurs to achieve together. Thank you.